3 years ago, my boyfriend, Alexander, almost had a car accident. I pushed him away without hesitation. When waking up, I found that I couldn't see anything. He promised to take care of me until old age. 3 years have flown by. Unexpectedly, a high fever led to a surprising return to light. I excitedly returned home. Through the crack of the door, Alexander and another woman were exercising in the living room. In that moment, my world has completely collapsed. The moment he locked eyes with his boyfriend, he hurriedly pushed the woman beside him away. The face was full of tension. "Emily, you finally came back." He suddenly realized I hadn't seen these. Mutter softly to oneself, just scaring oneself. The woman straightened up, the exposed arm wrapped around my boyfriend's chest. Whispered, "Alexander, let's continue." Alexander wrapped his arms around her waist, gently placed a kiss on her, paused for a moment. I am standing by the door. The nails were deeply embedded in the palms. But I feel no pain at all. I pondered repeatedly. What was the reason for the betrayal? Didn't he say he would accompany me for a lifetime? "Emily, aren't you recuperating in the hospital? Why are you back so soon?" Moreover, she is a solitary person. Alexander is naked from the waist up, some love bites, only wearing tight underwear. She walked over with a furrowed brow and asked me, "You can't be seen. Why are you still running around? If something really happens, what can I do?" His tone was filled with concern for me. If I were still the formless, shadowless version of myself, hearing his caring words, I might feel incredibly happy. Now, I saw him with another woman, actually still saying those caring words from before. I felt a chill all over. I looked pale at this seemingly concerned Alexander. There are many doubts, but the words just won't come out. Alexander reached out, "Support me. Take me inside." "Alexander," the woman wanted to say something brave, but a single glance from Alexander silenced her. I noticed her looking at me. There was an inscrutable provocation and disdain in the eyes. I stared blankly at the scene. Full of doubt, Alexander's hands and feet are agile and nimble, helped me to the bed in the bedroom. "Emily, I have some tasks to complete. You rest in the room first. I'll come keep you company once I'm done with my tasks." As soon as the words were spoken, he gave me a gentle kiss on the forehead, then hurriedly left. Alexander left. I just lie in bed, feeling a bit uncomfortable. The corners of the eyes instantly turned red. Tears flowed down gently, unbeknownst to me. I was thinking to myself, Alexander is in such a hurry to take me back to my room. Is it to continue their dealings with that woman? I reached the corner of the staircase, heard the breathing of a man and a woman. There are also some inappropriate conversations. "Alexander, Sophia, you really stir my emotions." Between me and her, who can make you happier? I gritted my teeth, felt a wave of discomfort. Alexander was out of breath, speaking. "Of course it's you. It feels much more comfortable. Otherwise, how could I possibly be with you? A woman with Emily's personality, especially suited to being a good wife and mother." Unfortunately, she missed such an opportunity. It seems his parents have been urging us to get married, but he just ignores. It turns out they don't like me, a blind person. My heart sank. The mocking voice of Sophia reached the ears. I quickly covered my ears, hastily ran away. "Not long ago, we are still the couple that everyone envies. I had such a great time playing in the snow that day. The result took too long. It started to get a fever at night. Alexander was anxious. Take me to the hospital quickly. Saw that I had a persistent high fever. He called all the doctors from the hospital to examine me, to allow for proper rest. He actually booked an entire floor, ensure a quiet environment. The female doctors and nurses at the hospital all envy me to have such a considerate boyfriend. Today, I saw him with another woman, just feel like a fool. Previous emotional investments have become worthless. What makes me saddest is he actually always looked down on me for having vision problems. Has he forgotten about this? I lost my light. It is to save him. I cried until my eyes were swollen. Tears won't stop. Finally, gradually fainted when I woke up again. I felt someone holding me gently. Alexander thought I had a terrible dream. Gently pat my back, speak to me gently. "Emily, don't be afraid. I am by your side." I couldn't help but choke out a question to him. "Alexander, will there really be a day you're not by my side?" Alexander gently stroked my face. A steadfast promise shone in the eyes. "Speak, Emily. This lifetime. Anyone can betray you, but I definitely won't. Did you forget you saved my life?" After listening to this, tears streamed down again. "Alexander, since you are like this, why sell me out?" He stared at me. Tears streamed down, panting. There seems to be a hint of impatience on the face. Emily, what's wrong with you? Tears blurred my vision. I can't see his face clearly. However, I still held on tightly to his clothes, struggled to utter those few words. Why? Alexander wore a look of confusion, let out a deep sigh, suddenly. His forehead touched mine. Emily, I swear to give you a promise, if I really dared to betray you, if the sky is to be struck by lightning, I will definitely face the consequences I deserve. Tears filled my eyes, staring into his eyes. Say firmly, I don't want you to do this. Alexander frowned slightly, asked helplessly, so what do you want me to do? I don't want anything. If that day comes, I will decide to completely leave you. Alexander was taken aback, then smiled. He asked, are you leaving? Do you really want to do this? Don't forget. Your eyes are a bit weak if I'm not around. How can you take good care of yourself? I clenched my hands tightly. Alexander, I'm speaking from the heart. Alexander seemed to hear something interesting. Can't stop enjoying it, he responded. All right, it's up to you. Suddenly, his laughter stopped. The hand shook in front of me. He noticed that I had no reaction, sighed softly. Sure, it's getting late. It's almost time to sleep peacefully. I nodded gently, slowly closed the eyes. After more than 10 minutes, a light knocking sound came from outside. I suddenly felt like a pair of eyes was watching me. Alexander might think that I have already fallen asleep. He gently pushed the door open. The voice was almost inaudible. Sophia, what are you doing here? Sophia said to Alexander in a charming voice. I want you to sleep with me tonight. I slowly opened my eyes, caught a glimpse of Sophia in a thin garment through the gap, arm around Alexander. The body was almost pressed against him. She said in an enticing tone, come here, try this. Do you really not like it? Don't you want to? Alexander's Adam's apple gently moved involuntarily. This little guy is truly an irresistible sprite. Just tidied you up in the evening. Not long after, it was wanted again, although Sophia pretended to refuse, yet couldn't help but tempt him. Took a few steps, look at him with a seductive gaze, ask the way. Wanna come? Alexander was instantly attracted to her. Hurry and catch up. Even the door to the room was left open. 5 minutes later, I quietly slipped out, documented evidence of Alexander's betrayal. Just as I was about to leave, Sophia's gaze suddenly shifted to me. She was slightly taken aback at first. Then a look of provocation and satisfaction immediately appeared in the eyes. I was planning to leave immediately, but at that moment I heard her speak. Alexander, the day after tomorrow is my birthday. Can you arrange a wedding for me? Alexander puts a lot of thought into her, but it still seems a bit restrained. Sophia hugged his neck, pleading even if it's just a formal wedding. We don't have to get a certificate either. Alexander said no without hesitation. Sophia's face was full of displeasure. She pushed him away fiercely, refused to let him get close. Alexander saw Sophia. Immediately the attitude softened. Start to comfort her. I turned and walked away. I don't want to listen anymore. The next morning, Alexander is wearing a suit, carefully tidy up in front of the mirror. He saw that I was awake, walked up to me holding the tie. Hand me the tie, Emily. Can you help me tie my tie? I was really surprised. I haven't had time to react. He muttered to himself, so confusing. Actually, forgot you can't see. He stands still in front of me. Quickly tie the tie. Rubbed my head again, talk to me. Emily, I need to go to the office to work overtime later. I have to part ways with you today. He finished speaking. Lower your head. Want to kiss my lips. But I suddenly remembered his past with Sophia. Couldn't help turning the head away. Alexander frowned slightly. Called my name in confusion. Emily. I replied faintly. Sure, what's going on? Alexander gave me a curious glance, then looked at the watch. Say, it's okay. I'll take my leave first, I whispered. Okay. He left. I went downstairs after getting ready. I didn't expect Sophia to still be there. She walked straight over to me. Hands waved in front of me. I have always been blind. The gaze was blank. Sophia smiled. The voice is gentle. Emily and Alexander are both absent. What else do you want to pretend to be? Last night, I saw you watching at our front door. Since you know the relationship between Alexander and me, it's better to leave him earlier. I am already pregnant with his baby. You heard it last night too. He is preparing to hold a wedding for me, about to get married. I originally planned to continue pretending to be blind. I want to see what Alexander does when I'm not looking. But now, Alexander's affair partner wants to provoke like this. I can't bear it any longer. I haven't had a chance to argue back. Alexander's voice rang out in the hallway. Emily, did you come down safely? I slowly turned around, gently shook the head. The answer was no. Thanks to Miss Sophia's help, I can come down, however. When did Miss Sophia come to our house? Alexander glared at Sophia, then hurriedly came over to support me. Talk to me. She is the nanny I hired, here to take care of you. I pretended to understand, thinking, oh, so it was the nanny. Sophia was immediately excited, just about to argue back. Alexander immediately let go of my hand, cover her mouth, then leaned in close to her ear and spoke softly. Can you be quieter? I tilted my head slightly, pretended to ask in confusion. Alexander. What happened? Alexander said ambiguously. It's nothing serious. I raised my hands, planned to take a few steps forward. Alexander quickly pushed Sophia away, tightly grasped my hand. Emily, be careful. I smiled gently. Alexander, didn't you say you were going to be busy at the office? Why are you back again? Alexander told a casual lie, said just came back to get something. I noticed he subtly signaled for Sophia to leave first. He helped me to the side of the sofa. Let me sit, then continue. Wait a moment. I'll be back soon. Then, he pulled Sophia aside. Whisper it to her, you go ahead. Sophia glanced at me, appeared somewhat disdainful. Then she tiptoed, hands wrapped around Alexander's neck, kissed his lips. After a brief moment of intimacy, they slowly parted. Sophia wore a playful smile, glanced at me, then turned and went out when leaving. I heard her talking to Alexander. She will wait for him outside. I slowly let go of the hand I was holding tightly, slowly got up. The gaze fell on Alexander. Call him softly, Alexander. Alexander looked astonished, slightly furrowed brow. Don't know what happened. Nothing, just wanted to check if you're still there. Alexander walked over to me, gently squeezed my hair. I'm certainly here. I have prepared all of these things. Be careful staying home alone. I pretended to be a bit confused. There is a person. Isn't the nanny you hired here to take care of me? I specifically raised my voice. Miss Sophia. Is Miss Sophia there? Alexander was stunned. A hint of regret appeared on the face. Oh, Miss Sophia just told me she has something to attend to. Took a day off today. Such a poor excuse. Does he really think I can't tell? However, I'm not planning to expose him. I feigned ignorance, said with disappointment. All right, this is truly unfortunate. He left. I bought a plane ticket to go abroad for myself. All the time. It's tomorrow. Then I made a call to the home service, have them clean my house thoroughly. I tidied up everything in the house. It hides my memories. I feel a bit upset, but still choose to throw away those unnecessary things. At the same time, donate any items that can be given away. It feels like letting go of the past self. Finally, my gaze slowly focuses on the ring on the middle finger. That was a promise we once made. It seems particularly ironic now. 3 years ago, I experienced a car accident. When waking up, it was discovered that sight was gone. In that moment, my world has completely collapsed. Fear and despair surged like a tide, almost suffocating. I was feeling terrible at that time, completely unwilling to interact with others. But Alexander visits the hospital every day to keep me company. His care and concern are like a ray of sunshine in winter, warm my cold heart. But because I lost my sight, felt unworthy of him, so never dared to meet him, until Alexander held the ring in his hand, kneeling beside the wheelchair in front of me, spoke with a choked voice. Emily, I'm sorry. It's all because I made you like this. From now on, let me protect you. Be your eyes. How about that? People often say. Men's tears are a rare sight. That day, he made my eyes watery. Alexander was really quite excellent before. Someone laughed at me when I was blind. He always stands up to help me without hesitation. When someone says I am a burden to him, he always holds my hand tightly. Say to those people without hesitation, I am his lucky star. If it weren't for me, he wouldn't have today's achievements at all. He doesn't care about the gossip at all. Always holding my hand, made a promise to be by my side for a lifetime. But now, he seems to have forgotten the promise made initially. A slight sting in the nose, but I told myself, it's nothing to save him. I spent a full 3 years. He took care of me wholeheartedly for 3 whole years. Now my vision has been restored. There's nothing owed between us. The next day arrived. Alexander didn't come home all night. I learned from the message sent by Sophia. They are celebrating the upcoming baby. Yesterday, Alexander wasn't actually busy with work at the company, but accompanied Sophia to the hospital for a checkup. The ultrasound photo of Sophia's pregnancy, vividly stored in my phone's album, always reminds me that all of this really happened, just as I was about to leave with my luggage. Alexander's phone rang suddenly. Emily, I've already sent someone to pick you up. Go somewhere. Is it okay? The message Sophia sent me last night immediately came to my mind. Emily, tomorrow Alexander and I are getting married. Tomorrow is over. Alexander will say a complete goodbye to you. I looked back. This is the place where I've lived for 3 years. It's time to say a proper goodbye to Alexander. All right, give me the address. Alexander had a vague feeling something feels off, but Sophia was very anxious. I suppressed the strange feeling that arose in my heart. I have arranged for someone to pick you up. It should be arriving soon. I couldn't help but sneer. Since people are here, why ask for my opinion, okay? Arriving at the hotel, I saw Alexander in a handsome groom's outfit, standing at the door waiting for me. He saw me, said hurriedly, Emily, this is to attend a friend's wedding. Please wait a moment, sit quietly for a while. I'll be right there to find you. I pretended not to see, gently nodded. He helped me into his and Sophia's wedding venue. The red carpet is sprinkled with rose petals. Their happy photos hung nearby. Many people who know me were present. They all looked at me with concern. The wedding went very smoothly. Alexander occasionally glances over at me. Sophia occasionally casts triumphant yet envious glances at me. I quietly enjoyed the delicious food at the wedding. Don't just look at a few tables. In fact, the dishes are all particularly delicious. Suddenly, Sophia seemed unable to accept my indifference. She suddenly grabbed the microphone. The voice asked loudly, Emily, what are you really busy with? You can see it. Right, you saw Alexander marry me. Is there really no discomfort inside? Alexander's heart trembled, staring at Sophia in disbelief. What are you talking about? Can Emily see? Alexander was a bit nervous, quickly grabbed Sophia's shoulder. Ask the way. Sophia flashed a charming smile. Indeed, she had noticed it long ago. If you think I'm talking nonsense, go ask Emily. Sudden change. Everyone's attention was focused on me. I slowly stood up. Everyone stared at me in surprise. I easily maneuvered around the tables and chairs. Someone purposely stretched out their foot to see if I could notice. I dodged nimbly. Alexander was stunned. Stare at me as I walk up to him, muttering quietly, How could this happen? Can you really not see? How did it appear all of a sudden? Suddenly, he excitedly grasped my hand. Emily, amazing, your eyes are finally better. I pulled my hand back coldly, took off the sunglasses, revealing a pair of cold eyes. Said lightly, yeah, really good. Alexander stood there in surprise, as if finally understanding what was done in the past. He hurriedly took my hand again, urgently said, Emily, let me explain. It's not as simple as you think. I decisively shook off his hand, eyes fixed on him. Alexander, I witnessed it all. A hint of panic flashed in Alexander's eyes. However, he still pretended to be calm. Ask the way. What did you see? I looked up at him. It is clear that he is taking a risk. Thinking about how I didn't see him with Sophia, I took out my phone. The intimate video of him and Sophia from the night before was played right in front of them. His voice with Sophia. Suddenly, it echoed at the reception. It immediately sparked intense discussions. Did Alexander and Sophia have fun? Sophia's actions are rather impulsive. These two are really annoying. Alexander's actions are disappointing. Emily paid a heavy price for him. Sophia ran towards me, wants to hit me. However, I quickly blocked her hand. Next, I immediately raised my hand, gave her a slap. I slapped her on the cheek. A sharp pain came from the hand. She covered half of her face with her hand. Eyes filled with fury. Screamed at Emily, please turn off the video. She screamed, immediately wanted to pounce on me, but I caught her just in time. A cold smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Ask Sophia, that night you clearly saw me, but does not stop. Didn't tell Alexander either. You want me to give up completely on him. You have achieved your goal. Why still be angry? As soon as I finished speaking, vigorously pulled her hand away. Sophia's face turned as red as an apple with anger, staring fiercely at me. After the video ends, the scene fell silent. At this moment, Alexander finally understood. I had known everything all along. He looked at me. The eyes were filled with regret and complex emotions. Emily, I'm truly sorry. I took a breath. I hope my voice sounds calmer, Alexander. Simply saying sorry is too easy, but the harm has already been done. If you have no affection for me, just say it directly. I won't force you. After hearing this, Alexander suddenly knelt down, hold my hand tightly. The voice was filled with tears. Emily, I know I was wrong. Swear to never make the same mistake again. Please give me a chance. Please forgive me. At the moment he was about to touch my hand, I quickly dodged. Alexander hasn't let me finish speaking. Sophia interrupted me. Alexander, what do you mean by this? Why do you want to apologize to her? She chattered incessantly, trying to help Alexander get up. But Alexander gently pushed her away. Sophia was clearly hit hard, stared at him incredulously. Next, she looked at me with a reproachful gaze. Speak. Emily, it's all your fault. Back then, how did you not survive that car accident if you had left then? Alexander no longer has to bear this burden. You just lost your sight. Why make Alexander take care of you all the time? He doesn't love you at all. Emily never experienced love, the person he loves deeply. It's actually me. I ignored Sophia's reaction, turned directly to Alexander. Ask his true feelings. Have you been complaining about me all along? Feels like I'm using moral reasoning to pressure you. Alexander lowered his head. Dare not look me in the eye. His silence told me, everything is clear now. I don't want to say anything more. Turn and leave. Alexander stood up abruptly, grabbed my wrist. Emily, where are you going? I pushed his hand away with force. Speak loudly. Don't touch me. Where am I going? Mind my own business from today on. Our relationship ends here. I just finished speaking. Just took off the ring he gave me 3 years ago. Handed it over. The ring fell. It landed directly on his head, then fell to the ground. Alexander's eyes were filled with worry. He was clearly afraid I would leave. Insisted on traveling with me. He wants to leave, but Sophia didn't want him to leave. I just got off the stage. Sophia immediately hugged Alexander's waist. Don't let him follow me. I turned my head, just saw Sophia whispering in his ear. Alexander, child. As soon as those 2 words were spoken, Alexander immediately stopped resisting. He was silently reciting. Emily, wait a moment. I will go back and talk to you properly. I understand. Couldn't help but smile coldly, turn and leave directly. During the security check, I received a call from Alexander. Emily, I am back home. Where are you? Where are you now? Let me tell you something. I'm holding the phone, not waiting for him to say anything more. She interrupted him in a cold tone. Alexander, have you and Sophia finished the wedding? The voice on the other end of the phone suddenly disappeared. Alexander, do you remember what I said to you before? If you betray me, I will completely exit your life. The words were spoken. I was just about to hang up the phone. Just as I was about to hang up the phone, hearing that urgent voice, Emily, don't be impulsive. Where are you now? I didn't wait for him to finish speaking, just hung up the phone, boarded the plane to the outside. Go find my parents after a full 12 hours of flight. I finally arrived safely. The parents have been waiting outside the airport for quite a while. Upon seeing them, I couldn't help but cry. At first, I was with Alexander, but Mom and Dad don't agree. Maybe they saw through it long ago. Alexander doesn't care about my feelings at all. I'm really persistent. Ignoring parents' objections, insisted on being with Alexander. I even cut ties with my parents for him. That night, it's raining heavily. I cried sadly, soaked all over. Reached his doorstep when he first saw me. Eyes glowed with red light. I rushed into his arms, tears streaming down my face, said in a hoarse voice, Alexander, I really have nowhere to go. He told me in the future, his home became my home. He will take good care of me. Didn't expect that, unexpectedly due to a car accident. Our past love has turned into my unrealistic expectations of him. After 3 years of loss, I finally saw his true colors. Listened to my experiences over the years. Parents are deeply pained, crying while holding me, regret saying they wouldn't care about me. The result is that nothing matters anymore. I am very grateful to them. I encountered difficulties at that time. They are also willing to provide me with a safe haven. I stayed abroad for 2 days. The eyes feel sore. It's especially dry. My parents are taking me to the hospital for a checkup soon. The doctor told me, the reason I couldn't see before, it's a blood clot in the brain pressing on the optic nerve. Perform the blood clot removal surgery sooner. May recover vision faster. No need to wait 3 years for it to fade away on its own. Upon hearing the news, I was really shocked. I don't want Alexander to think anything bad about me. After all, he was quite nice to me before, in that low point of my life. My parents took turns accompanying me. In that moment, a glimmer of warmth surged in my cold, numb heart. I can't figure out what I've been busy with these past few years. Feeling all the burden on one person's shoulders. There is no career. There is no love. Truly nothing. Not very smart. I'm not very satisfied with my past self. Mom knows I used to study fashion design. She encouraged me to pick up the brush again, back to familiar territory. The fashion industry today is vastly different from the past. Mom often says, as long as there is a determination to learn, it's never too late to start. The greatest fear is lacking the courage to start over. At that moment, I understand. I picked up the paintbrush again, start seeking my inspiration, try to break through self-imposed limits. The lights flicker on and off. At times, dark. Flickering, this month has given me a completely new understanding of myself. Alexander also spent a month looking for me, our mutual friend said. On the afternoon I left, Alexander misunderstood that I wanted to self-harm, rushed to call the police. He ignored the police warning, severely affected law enforcement, also had a conflict with the police, finally locked up for a week. He came out. She started asking around to see if there were any cases of self-harm or suicidal behavior among women. If Sophia hadn't persuaded him a bit, he may react more intensely. No wonder, after I went abroad for half a month, the phone keeps ringing non-stop. I have never changed my phone number, so he can call and message me anytime. But until now, I haven't seen any news from him, never answered his call. In the evening, the phone rang again. I hesitated, but in the end still answered the phone. Excited voices came from the phone. That's great. Emily, you finally answered my call. Hearing Alexander's voice again, I found that the pain in my heart seemed to have disappeared. Alexander, may I ask what's the matter? If there's nothing else, I'll hang up now. Alexander seemed a bit nervous. It seems afraid I'll hang up. Hurry up and say it. Something's up. Of course there is. Emily, where are you right now? I said to him calmly. Alexander, just call and say this. I don't need to reply to you at all. I really made a mistake. I understand it myself. Emily, please come back quickly. Without you by my side, I feel really upset. I can apologize to you for this. Is it okay? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Alexander's voice slowly changed from tense to choked. I remember that day. He was with Sophia, always complained to me. Sophia, I have long been fed up with that disappointing person. Her eyesight is not very good, running around all day. Didn't expect how tiring it is to care for her. Who would care that she pushed me a bit that year? It would be better to let the car hit me. This way, there's no need to carry this burden every day. Why, once I leave her, it has become a person who lacks gratitude. I didn't ask her to come save me. If I had known it would turn out this way, I really don't want to live anymore. He is not regretting, but fears that people might say he is ungrateful. Alexander, what you did is inappropriate. I whispered something. Alexander was momentarily stunned. What happened? I exposed his disguise on the spot. That day, I heard every conversation you had with Sophia in bed. Heard it clearly. He wants me to go back. The main goal is to show that he is a reliable person in Alexander's heart. He is the most important, Alexander hurriedly explained. I said all of this in a moment of excitement. It does not represent my true thoughts. Even so, he is still trying to explain himself. I sneered. Okay, what you said doesn't count as your true feelings. Then you are with Sophia. It's completely voluntary. The affair you had is real. Is that so? Sophia is pregnant with your child. This is true, right? Things have come to this point. You still want me to forgive you. You get another chance, Alexander. I understand what you're saying. I'm not foolish enough to forgive someone like you. Alexander was left speechless by me, but he was still unwilling to give up. Question me. Emily, what do you want me to do to earn your forgiveness? I coldly said 4 words, then hung up the phone, also put him on the blacklist. Not long later, I received Sophia's unfriendly remarks. I don't quite understand what happened, so I blacklisted her contact. Several days later, Alexander appeared at my doorstep. It really surprised me. How did you know I was here? A hint of pride flashed in Alexander's eyes. Slightly proudly said, finding where you are is easy for me. I laughed softly twice, gently pushed him aside at the door. Please make way. Thank you. Alexander was not angry through his eyes. I can sense a hint of tenderness. He caught me. Talk to me. I've taken care of Sophia's matter. I furrowed my brows instinctively. I remembered the unfriendly message Sophia sent me a few days ago. I have many questions in my mind. I want to know what happened to you. Alexander's behavior is really puzzling. He chuckled lightly. Sure, I did as you said. Broke up with her. I furrowed my brows. What does this mean? When did I say that you should break up? He laughed so hard that his eyes squinted into slits. It was when you called me last time. I saw him like that. A wave of discomfort, unconsciously. A distance was created between them. I continued to deny. I've never said that. After the breakup, how should the issue of child upbringing be resolved? Alexander interrupted me mercilessly. The child is gone. No wonder Sophia was so excited that day. I glanced at him, Thinking about you has nothing to do with me. Emily, Alexander wants to get closer to me, but I backed away immediately. I quickly opened the door. Just got home. Not sure why, seeing such an Alexander. I always feel uneasy, thought for a while. I messaged a friend, asked about Alexander and Sophia. My friend said, recently, Alexander's behavior has been a bit unusual. A week ago, someone forcibly sent Sophia to the hospital, want to perform surgery on her. Sophia struggled desperately to escape, but finally Alexander caught up. This approach made Alexander uncomfortable. He kicked Sophia in the belly several times. The child is gone. Sophia almost had an accident, although later rescued. But the fertility is gone. Moreover, Alexander's company was exposed because of his wedding with Sophia. Faced with criticism from online public opinion, partners began to withdraw their investments one by one. The company is in jeopardy, about to go bankrupt. My friend continued. Sophia decided to call the police after waking up, but the police didn't find Alexander. Still remind me to be careful of him. Every time I think of Alexander I just saw, I find him a bit strange. Parents return home in the evening. I told them what happened and advised them to be more cautious. Following a friend's advice is indeed a wise decision. The next evening, I got home from work. Suddenly, Alexander appeared before me again, hold my hand tightly, urging me to return home with him. I have a different opinion on this. It's clear that he was deeply affected. Suddenly, he squeezed my throat hard, shouted excitedly, if you disagree, then leave. I struggled desperately, filled with fear. Alexander, can you let me go? I will go back with you. Hearing this, Alexander quickly let go of me. He said happily, I believe Emily won't leave me. I obediently followed him to the airport. On the road, I secretly called the police. When I arrived at the airport, the police arrived as well. Alexander was taken away by the police, very excited. Reluctance filled the eyes when the parents arrived. I stopped a police officer. The police stopped. Just stare at me. I had to point to my head. I think his thinking might be a bit off. You can take him for an examination. The police officer nodded slightly. Respond. Okay. Parents are very anxious. I stayed with them for a long time. In the end, they finally felt a little more at ease. 2 months later, I received a request from Alexander to meet with me. I'm still a bit confused, so went to the mental hospital to see him. The iron post separates him and me. We are sitting across from each other. The two stared at each other silently. Haven't spoken for a long time. I finally spoke up. Alexander, what do you really want to say to me? He slowly lowered his head, whispered an apology. I really don't understand. How could one feel sad for him? Still sad about our past feelings. I smiled faintly. It's okay. I accept your apology. Alexander looked at Emily with surprise. Ask the way. Would you like to? I interrupted him. Acceptance does not mean forgiveness. He quietly lowered his head. The voice was slightly choked. I understand. The things I did never can be forgiven in this lifetime, Emily. I can't figure out why it turned out this way. Mingaming, you once lost an eye for me. I've always wanted to take good care of you. I don't know since what day. I started to feel annoyed. I looked at him, voiced my doubts. Alexander, after my eyes are healed, my parents took me to see the doctor for an examination. He stated, only need an eye cleaning surgery. Can restore vision. Alexander was stunned, as if shaken by something. I continued, 3 years. I thought for a while, since being discharged from the hospital after the car accident. It seems you have never taken me to the hospital for a follow-up. Why is that? Alexander looked up in fright, hastily trying to explain, but after talking for a long time, he still couldn't say a complete sentence. I stopped, because you want to perform a heartfelt drama in front of me. However, later, you began to feel annoyed. So, you're putting all the blame on me. You want to end this performance. So, went to find Sophia. You and her are intimate at home without any reservations. Make various sounds. It's clear that they want me to hear it. Then felt embarrassed and left. Is that so? Alexander stared at me in disbelief. Did you know? I stand up. Alexander, actually, I understand you much better than you think. Don't contact me again. Don't meet either. After saying this, I just turned around and walked away. I heard Alexander crying behind me. Emily, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I'm not really sure if he was right or wrong, but I will never forgive him in this lifetime. I can never erase his hurt from my heart. From now on, I will devote myself fully to my work. Let the pain gradually fade away with time. I am convinced the future me will be even better.